Welcome into Trust the Process Live. And as the title says, winning in preseason is for losers. And we're going to tell you all about why that is if you don't already have a pretty good idea. If you're not able to catch us live, obviously you know where to get us wherever you get your podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, in between. The person who you hear their voice first, that's me. That's your host. My name doesn't matter. Josh Safran is the guy to my left if you're watching us live. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I went to the Phils yesterday, hadn't gone all month. And of course, yesterday was the game that I went to. So, that's what I get. But this ain't the Phils episode, gentlemen. We are talking about the Birds today. And feels good. It's time to spread some of my propaganda.
This is
it? We're officially in the propaganda season?
Before we have any information, that's where Josh thrives. Josh thrives before we have any information about anything.
Oh, man.
The man of many digits, and what it was 48 digits in total in that preseason closer. Max Coolish, how are you?
I'm great, man. I really am. It's preseason's done. This is the day that it's just it's just countdown from here. There's nothing else to look forward to, I guess, except Final 53, which we're gonna speculate upon a bit, but. Other than that, I just have two clocks ticking down in my head. 8:15 on September 8th,
yes, sir.
And roughly 1:05 on September 11th.
Okay,
that's it. At this point, I got two clocks ticking down.
All right.
Obviously, the Eagles take precedent, but
with you, Max.
The only worst wait from now until Bills Rams is that mini wait after Bills Rams until Sunday, when all the rest of the games happen.
What a game to kick off the NFL season, though.
Seriously.
The NFL might suck on Monday nights, but they do great with the Thursday openers, man. They're always a good game on the Thursday opener. Bucks Cowboys last year was a good one. There was the famous Kareem Hunt Chiefs Patriots game from the year after the Patriots won their Super Bowl. Yep. Wow. Just there's always been a couple wild ones in the last.
And then they get to slop by week 5.
Yeah. Thursday night slop by week 5. Monday night slop by, we'll say, week 3 this year because Eagles Vikings.
Fun stuff. Yeah, because week 2 we got a good one. Let's see. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Let's not going to make any bones about it. We're getting to this 15-3-man roster, and there's been a couple cuts today. Nothing too out of the ordinary, at least as of yet. So let's talk about this 53-man roster of the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to go around, Josh. I know this is where you thrive. So let me read this to you, even though you don't need it to be read to you because you wrote it. 53-man roster has to be decided tomorrow. So we might I haven't kept – what's the exact count, boys? Do we know how many more players need to be cut?
I'm not totally sure. I can look. Yeah, I mean, I can look. I can try and look for.
It's like the number's too big to really know right now. There's 45 or so
Max,
guys.
While you do that, I'm gonna keep reading this to Josh. So we got some tough decisions to make by tomorrow. Okay, Josh. 2 QBs, 3 running backs for now. Does this mean 6 wide receivers? And if so, give me the last 2 wide receivers that make it off of the obviously or apart from the obvious ones who are going to make this roster. Linebacker Davion Taylor might make the cut. He might not. He seems to be the one on the hot seat right now. And safety with Jaquiski Tart getting cut. So tell me who starts and who if the Eagles need to bring in someone. So you got that 2 QBs, 3 running backs. So give me the wide receivers. Yeah. Tell me about linebackers and tell me about safeties. All right.
All right, I'll take it one by one here, and then I'll go to Max after.
Josh, can I strike you a deal? Can you just leave safety? Just leave safety for me.
I mean, look, I want to let's talk about receiver first, real quick, because I think you guys let me know, because when they did 2 running backs, when they did 2 quarterbacks, right, with Sinnott and Strong gone, and then they cut Huntley today, right? Am I crazy to assume that's got to be 6 receivers, right? Are we in agreement there?
It feels like it. I don't really know where else it would go at this point.
Banners?
I'm trying to think, but they won't carry.
Maybe secondary. I don't know.
I'm thinking either cornerback or D line, but I can't think of. I just can't think of the last name on the defensive line that I'm trying to squeeze in. You know what I mean? Those are the 3 positions traditionally that you would try and make room for.
Yeah, the D-line might be a little more cut and dry. So, yeah, on that note, now that we've established that, like, going into week 1, you're probably going to see 6 receivers on this roster, which I know that's something a lot of people wanted to see last year. It just they ran 3 quarterbacks, so you couldn't do that. So, first of all, I love the 6 receivers because I think it is kind of written in stone at this point that Jalen Reagor is on this roster. Nobody wants to see it happen except for Mr. Reagor and his dad. I mean, that's maybe Howie, because he's the one who's making the decisions. Fellas, I do want to say, like, I'm not saying I believe in Jalen Reagor, but, like, I do have just the tiniest little bit of hope that just by pure human desperation, Jalen Reagor will be able to do something worth value on this Eagles team this year. Hopefully that's not stupid. But my last wide receiver spot, I feel like you have to give it to Devin Kane. I know a lot of people want to give it to Britton Covey purely on a return game basis, but did he really do anything return worthy like in preseason? I know he was good in college. He was one
doing it. That's the thing. Like
he was one doing it.
I'll admit. I'll hand up. I'm in the camp that would prefer to go the other way. I've expressed this like the last 2 times we talked about the Eagles. I think returner is such a huge like. We take it for granted because in my lifetime, we've really only had maybe 1 or 2 guys who are truly electric or game-changing special teams guys. But to me, that's like one of the biggest weaknesses on this Eagles roster that looks pretty good on paper is a real lack of dynamic playmaking on the special team side of things. I think that Jake Elliott is
kicks and punts.
I couldn't tell you. I know
if he was doing both kicks and punts, I think he makes it.
I just don't know if he deserves it. You know what I mean? Like with what I saw with, Devin Kane, like, because let's be real, like someone's going to get hurt, right? And even if someone doesn't get hurt, guys get banged up in games and you get like, there will be a game where there will be many games where the 6th receiver does not see the field, but there also will be games where they will. And to me, I'd rather take the guy who can like in preseason. It looks like he can kind of play receiver in the NFL over this guy that we like are like we want him to be a good returner, and there's really no proof
Josh,
that he is.
Deion Kane or Devin Allen? Which one?
My bad. Deion Kane.
Deion
Kane.
Yeah,
okay. I realized I'm combining. Yeah. I like what I saw from Deion Kane, and people like Devin Allen's like raw ability, but I don't know. Like I'd rather take my chance on a guy who I've seen more stuff from.
See, for me, it's just like I don't know. It's just it feels so inconsequential because like think about it like this: you carry 5 receivers. Kenny Gainwell is going to be active every single game. You need help at receiver, you get creative, and he's your slot guy the rest of the game. You play 2 tight end more often. I don't think a guy who's a 6th receiver on the depth chart because he's a better 6 option at catching the football and running routes. If anything, if you're that desperate for production, you might as well just take the guy who's just a better playmaker with the ball in his hands, right? Like just figure out a way to get him the ball within 3 yards of the line and just be like, hey, this is a punt return from scrimmage, go score. Like that's how I think. Like maybe that's a bit too Madden-esque of me, but like at some point, like you can't complicate things for yourself. Like just because this guy has marginally better hands, you're not going to ever be depending on your 4th or 5th receiving option to be the one that comes up with a big catch. So, and if you do, chances are that
Greg Ward was for a while.
That's exactly what I was.
But see, that's different. I know this was coming. Greg Ward's different because he's been in the system for years, and he, that also was a pretty extreme situation. I don't think the Eagles are going to be in as an extreme situation where they're relying on guys like Greg Ward to step up and be a legit starting outside receiver on a down by down basis. We would need some pretty horrible injury luck to get there with the guys that we're talking about here tonight.
So Digits, to like answer you, I mean, it's kind of just like what you prioritize, right? And
yeah, exactly.
I'm not over here like guffawing at Britton Covey. Like I think like the idea of Britton Covey's awesome, but like I'm not buying it. You know what I mean? So I'd rather take a guy who might have to get inserted into the game because of injury. And then to your Kenny Gainwell point, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about that. Sirianni didn't try that much last year. Maybe it was because of Gainwell's like wasn't comfortable doing that. I'd like that option more than anything. Like now that you mentioned that, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all the reports that they were working him out as a receiver. Like, we've talked about the whole Miles Sanders being like, don't draft me in fantasy this year. Like, that's got to have, I know we take that as kind of jokes, but like, it definitely seems like Gainwell is really, exactly. It really seems like Gainwell's poised to have a pretty impactful role in this offense one way or another. And I think it would just be a natural correlation where if the Eagles are really thin at receiver for some freak accident occurrence in a single game, or even for a short period of time, I feel like that they would probably try and make Gainwell more incorporated than a guy like Kane, for example.
In conclusion, I guess from where I would stand then is, look, I'm going to stick with my guns here. I want to go Kane over Covey, but if they go Covey and give him the shot at returning, I want to see Gainwell getting some reps at receiver, like you were saying, Digits.
How do I phrase this? Were they not giving Jalen Reagor reps at punt returner because they know or they think he can do it already? Because I mean, that was like one of his quote unquote attributes. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out what other than a roster bonus that this guy is going to make this team. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. That was always like the fallback card that I used like when the Reagor incident happened. It was, it was like, he's
Reagor incident.
He's got, he's got the special teams prowess as well. Like, it counts for something, right? But like, he was awful as a punt returner last year. Like, straight up, he was awful. He was awful as a punt returner last year.
And that Bucs game was the last straw too.
Yeah, like playoff game, like just you would think. But whatever. Like, I don't want to turn this into shit on the guy who's going to be our
that's
fourth
enough about
receiver.
Reagor, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm just like, I see. So
you're both telling me that he's your sixth receiver.
Reagor?
Yeah.
I think Rager's the
it'll be
fifth
probably
receiver.
Five.
Yeah,
fifth.
And that's what I was saying. We're like, do I believe in him? No, but I think the Eagles and Howie are like saying like maybe just by the grace of human desperation, he can do something.
So, theoretically,
he'll always be a first-round pick.
Yeah, Benners.
Theoretically, though, you'd trust Deion Kane more with route trees, right?
Theoretically, here's the bottom line. Deion Kane is just a guy who's not named Jalen Reagor to me, and he looked pretty decent from the preseason clips. Like,
that's more than Jalen Reagor's done,
right? I guess then you're right. Then that is what I'm saying. Yeah, but I'm not saying I really like. I'm not putting.
They're saving the sixth spot for somebody that they like can't cut because of the principle, right? Like, because you'd theoretically trust somebody else, like an unsigned free agent, over him if you were going to go to a 4 wide receiver set and somebody was injured, and he's not your special teams guy. So there's somebody else in the 5 spot occupying. So like, this is just, it's on principle. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to me.
It's weird to me too, but like I feel like everyone and their mother has kind of thrown their hands up and like, well, I guess Jalen Reagor's an Eagle this year. Like, isn't that the general consensus? Like, I wouldn't, if I was Howie Roseman, I wouldn't have him on the team, right? But like, it's pretty much a fact at this point. I feel like.
Yeah, it feels inescapable.
Still time to be traded. Run through it. Sorry, linebacker. All right, we got Davion Taylor. Does Davion Taylor make the cut? There's Sean Bradley's on. I think he's. I don't think he made it to the PUP list, but he's injured. So take me through this linebacker depth chart, Max, and tell me if Davion Taylor makes this team.
Davion Taylor. I am going to say.
I mean, does it come down to him or Jacoby Stevens? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, in which case he should make it.
I feel like it'll be Taylor. I feel like it'll be Taylor. Personally,
he should make it over Jacoby Stevens. Like, all right. So should he? Yes. I'm gonna put. Will he?
Yes.
I will say yes and not confident, but this becomes like a morality debate almost, where it's like
speed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you go with the guy who in an NFL vacuum is the better player at the position, but he played awful by all the training camp reports, by the preseason reports? Or do you go with the guy who's not as, Jacoby Stevens, who doesn't like have as much hype or not the tangibles and the talent that Davion Taylor should have, but played better than him in preseason / training camp by the reports pretty much?
We're having the same argument we just had. Yeah, I mean, this guy was a 3rd round pick 2 years ago.
I think you got to keep him. I mean, like, I'm biased. I always like a speedy linebacker. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they're not that great at football, speed can make up for some of that. But that's always just my linebacker mojo.
I'll say this, right? Like, right now that outside linebacker position is not like it's like, oh my God, how would I ever jump these guys for a starting spot on the depth chart, right? Like if you can't figure it out by year 3 with some sort of a semblance of a clear path to regular playing time, then something didn't click, right? Like maybe it's maybe it's us, maybe it's both, but I don't know. I guess just because of the draft capital used, I'm willing to give him one more year. I'm been really impressed with Kaiser White. I think that it's pretty fair to say he's probably the nailed on starter at this point. I think a lot of us, maybe including us on this podcast, at draft time maybe thought this was Nakobe Dean's job to lose, and White was just a journeyman of sorts. He's been really good this preseason in the action that I've caught. So I've been very impressed with him. I know he's not in contention here, but that's my point. Like a couple months ago, we were having the debate of, is this starting position our rookie 3rd round pick in Nakobe Dean, or is it this guy that we just picked up on his 3rd team in 3 years from the Chargers, right? So that's my thing. If he can't beat these guys out, then he's not worth the roster spot ultimately. But I think that he has more talent and raw upside, which is what you probably should be gambling on when it comes to the fringe of the roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, Davion Taylor.
Keep saying it. I think the day one starters are Kaiser White and Nakobe Dean. I really do.
I'd go Kaiser White and TJ Edwards simply for this side of the things. I don't know if Nakobe Dean's ready. Like week 7, I think it's Nakobe Dean's job, but weeks 1 and 2, TJ Edwards.
All right, that's fair. And then Max, safety. This is what you wanted. Take us through this, because Jaquiski Tart was let go. So I mean, Kayvon Wallace and Marcus Epps. What am I supposed to think about this?
So I think that the reason I wanted to take this, because this just hit the waiver wire a couple hours ago, and I know that both you fellas are busy bees during the day here. Tony Jefferson on the Ravens was released today. He was just basically a victim of positional overcrowding. Jefferson plays strong safety. Epps is a free safety by trade. Let me ask you this. What do you think the age difference is between Marcus Epps and Tony Jefferson?
Tony Jefferson's young.
4 years. Epps is 26 and Jefferson is 30. I did not think Marcus Epps was 26. I'm going to be honest with you guys.
I thought both were a little bit younger. The Epps being 26 is shocking.
That's what I thought too. I thought Jefferson was in that 30-ish range. I was like, but the thing is, like, the Eagles don't really have, no disrespect to Marcus Epps, but this will be his first real year as a starter. I would like to maybe see, a little bit more of a field general presence in that defensive backfield. Like you have a really good set of corners, right? But like the difference with safety is obviously is you can see everything. Like that's the whole reason you're in safety. You have to trust your instincts, and you have to trust that you're doing the right thing in terms of how you're reading the play. And I think that having a guy who, let's be honest, we know all about the Ravens' struggles with injuries last year. Jefferson was one of the people who dealt with that. Jefferson was, by all accounts, a guy who was basically put into a role that he really wasn't suited for as like the best player on a bad defense. I think that he would be more than adequate as a guy to take over a strong safety spot over, I guess, Kayvon Wallace, who, I don't know. He was a guy that I wanted to see do well when he got drafted. He had a great story, great work ethic, but it just maybe seems like he was one of those guys who benefited from being on a really dominant college team around him.
Definitely.
As much as it sucks to say.
I'm not out on Kayvon Wallace.
I'm not out on him too, but I don't think that he's a starting safety in the NFL.
Oh no. See, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And it's just like it's like last thing. It's like the age old adage of like getting a sports car and putting regular gasoline in it. You have this insane trio of cores for the first time in 15 years, it feels like, around there, 10, 15 years. And it's like your corners can do so much more if you have competent safety play. Like you can essentially leave Bradbury and Slay and Maddox to an extent all on islands. And it's just like, use your safeties to help the linebackers. And I think Tony Jefferson would be a perfect guy to do just that. Like, I think that's his strength, helping the linebackers. I think that's what this Eagles defense needs.
So Digits, two things. One, on the Tony Jefferson thing, I love the sound of it, but I'll also say that I love the sound of the Eagles when they got Jaquiski Tart, man. Like I thought it was
I know what you're saying, but yeah, I don't know. Tart was, I think Tart's been on the decline for the last couple of years. I think that, like, I don't know. I guess there isn't really Yeah, I guess there isn't really a huge difference between the two.
They're both 30. You know what I mean? And like I like the sound of it, but like I don't know. Like it's
Tony Jefferson's better than Jaquiski Tartt.
I think that's where I'm landing on this, and it's just like safety is the Band-Aid position this year. They clearly put no resources into it. This would be, this is, I don't want to say a sign from God, but this is the best you're going to find on at 53-man cuts after 3 preseason games in terms of, a guy who isn't young, like who's a clear upgrade on the guy who's pegged to be a starter now. So I don't know. I think it's worth taking a shot, but we know these things rarely ever work out the way that us fans want it to.
And my second safety thing was I think Anthony Harris just ends up starting, and just because he's been around for longer.
He's been here, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, would you rather have Anthony Harris or would you rather have Tony Jefferson?
Tony Jefferson, not even close. But
Tony will be the strong safety. Harris is the free safety, the center fielder.
That's a good point, because that's not something. Yeah, maybe Max and I were thinking more in Madden terms with the whole safety thing there. That really wasn't something I wasn't thinking about.
Epps is going to be playing free safety, correct?
No, he'll be. They might just run a bunch of too high, but Anthony Harris is not a strong safety. He's a center.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think he's a strong safety at all, but I don't think Epps really is either. I guess if you're categorizing
the strong safety, but
that's what I mean. If the two of them are your stars and you're categorizing, yes, Epps is probably more of a strong safety than the other two. But if I'm being honest, if you go look them up, Epps is listed as a free safety by position. I think he's more of a free safety by trade as well. Tony Jefferson is not that guy. I think Epps's best attributes are his ball skills. Like, I think that he's an underrated, like, if he can see the play develop, which I think was his issue, which he got a lot, he had a lot more opportunity to see things, and he got a lot better as last year went because he got the experience. Like, I think that as he learns to recognize, plays and, see things before they're happening, I think he could be a pretty good safety. I'm not saying he's going to be elite Pro Bowl or anything, but I definitely think that he could be like a solid anchor to
Rodney McLeod role.
Yeah, exactly. I think he could do that.
You know what? I kind of talked myself into thinking Kayvon Wallace might start.
No,
really?
No.
I don't think so.
And I'm going to say it on a technicality because of position groups. Strictly because he is more of a strong safety. So they might play two free safeties.
He's way too slow to be a free safety.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. He can't be the guy who plays a solo center field. He can't cover both sides of the field.
No, I'm saying strictly depth chart wise. So like when you're looking at a depth chart on paper, he would technically be strong safety 1. But they would play 2 free safeties and scheme wise double high.
Take the overall decrease hit.
Yeah. So technically, if we're gonna say starting safeties, you know what I mean? So wow, that sucks. You know what? Let's revisit this. How about that trade? Marcus Epps for Andrew Sendejo.
Pretty.
You remember that?
I totally forgot about that. Completely forgot.
That's why I thought Epps was younger, because I thought that he was just someone that's been basically.
No, he was. So Epps was. So Sendejo left, signed
2 years
here
ago at this point.
Fucking
that was more than that,
man.
That was more than that.
Really?
Sendejo signed here on a free agent deal. Epps was in his. He was a rookie. Epps was a rookie with the in Minnesota, and Zimmer gave up on him, and they traded Epps here and brought Sendejo back to Minnesota.
I thought Epps sucked too. Like, I really was out on Epps. I'll be hand up.
A lot of people when he got here didn't realize he was a
originally,
rookie.
Or am I wrong? Am I just wrong on that?
He was a safety out of Wyoming.
Okay. Then you're going me.
Yep. What a trade, huh? What a
worked out real well for us.
Man. It's the Howie Whelan deal.
What a trade. All right, let's do this. This is the fun part. We're going to get into some preseason awards now, and we saved our best for last, so I'm not going to give that one away. Ooh, coming around, Josh, offensive player of the year for training camp. And what do we call these? I don't want to call them preseason.
Preseason prediction, like who's going to be the offensive player of the year.
Oh, that's a waste. All right. I can dig it. All right, so we're projecting. Okay.
Projecting. Yeah, like when
these
they
are
come up
with
with
projections.
I thought we were giving
next week's NFL-based projections.
Yes.
I thought we were giving completely superfluous awards, and I'm
sorry. Banners, you can do it too, but like, when college basketball, they have the preseason Naismith Award candidates and that type of thing.
I'm with you. All right, so here we go. That is a major change to how I prepare for this segment. Offensive player of the year. So these are, again, our NFL projections. Nobody said any different, and the host was definitely on
Eagles, not NFL, just Eagles.
All right, so apparently I am just terrible
next week's
today.
NFL.
So
next week
everybody
is NFL.
Forget that I exist. So Eagles offensive player of the year. Josh, what are you thinking?
Show us how it's done, Josh. Give us the test run.
Show us how the segment should work. Offensive player of the year. And man, you could put a lot of guys in here, but I'm going with wide receiver number 2, not number 1. Wide receiver number 2, Devontae Smith, is going to be the Eagles offensive player of the year this season for 2 reasons. One, the absolute obvious answer. 3 reasons, actually. One, the obvious is because A.J. Brown is there. If they're running man-to-man, A.J. Brown's going to get their best safety. He's going to get their biggest safety. And, Devontae Smith, one of his other things has always been his size. So you take the biggest did I say safety? I meant cornerback. I got safeties on the brain.
We got safeties on the brain.
So you got the biggest, best cornerback on A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith had a pretty good year last year. Like, we were all satisfied with what we saw. I think this is the breakout time, and I also think it's comfortability. Devontae Smith seemed kind of like a quiet guy when he first came here. He was funny, made some nice comments. Now he's out here talking about how much he loves honey smoked Wawa. This guy is now a Philly guy. He gets it. He's comfortable. He's got a year under his belt in the NFL, and he's got A.J. Brown taking all the defensive pressure. Devontae Smith breakout season, offensive player of the year.
Max, Eagles offensive player of the year.
I'm going wide receiver 1.
Wow.
The more I have let this stew in my brain, I am so thankful A.J. Brown is an Eagle, fellas. I really cannot express this enough. This dude is best friends with our quarterback in real life, and we saw what this did last year. Look, I'm not saying A.J. Brown's going to go out and do what Cooper Kupp did last year. I'm just saying that we have the most recent and the most glaring example that a strong off-the-field relationship can translate to on-the-field success. Okay? There's one for you. 2, he is a legitimate wide receiver 1. Forget him and Hurts being best friends for as long as they want. It could be Kevin Cobb at quarterback for the Eagles, and I'm confident in saying that A.J. Brown is a bona fide top 10, unquestionably top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now. He has size, he has strength, he has speed, he's got great hands. He hasn't really the only issue he's ever caused has been apparently the issues with Tennessee this year, which he swears was it's just strictly business, which I'm inclined to believe. They chose to trade him and not extend him. Any other team could have swept in there, and the Eagles chose to do so. But lastly, we talked about this when it happened. He is just such an ideal fit for this Eagles offense based on what I saw last year. He's easily one of the best if not the best, easily one of the best run blocking wide receivers in the NFL. And one thing the Eagles didn't do last year was go over the middle. I really think that was because they lacked the personnel to do so for the most part. We saw Goddard kind of emerge in that space through the last third of the season, kind of down that, that cakewalk stretch the Eagles had to kind of end the year. I think A.J. Brown's going to be the guy that's doing that against the Buccaneers and against the Kansas City Chiefs. And, he's going to do it against the Cowboys on 3rd and 10. I think that he gives them the missing element in terms of the route tree that they didn't have to develop last year. But I think that one thing that we regularly criticize about the Eagles, and especially Jalen Hurts, was his deep ball is bad. I'll say this: you can get away with bad deep balls when your receiver has a 6'10" wingspan and can go up over most of the corners who are covering them. All it takes is an extra 2 to 4 catches a year on deep balls, and those stats start to look a lot different. I think A.J. Brown brings it all, fellas. I really do, and I really think he's going to be the reason that the Eagles go. I think they're going to go as he goes this year. I think we're going to see a lot of those games where they're trailing, where he takes over, where it's Hurts looking for him and maybe nobody else except Goddard. I think the Eagles really have a clear funnel situation. I'm not saying that Devonta Smith wouldn't deserve targets in those situations. I just think that that's how it's going to play out. I think that Hurts clearly has more rapport based on last year with Goddard, and I think that as of right now, it's not unfair to say that A.J. Brown is definitely a better option in almost every scenario than Devonta Smith. No disrespect. It's my fourth Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver, of course.
No disrespect.
No disrespect.
I'm going Goddard here.
I thought about
familiarity. It's just, this is like, I don't know. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. And if you're talking about progress as a quarterback, to me, what I saw Hurts needed to work on last year was throws over the middle. So obvious progress over the offseason been talked about being made. That's the quick A to B. If I'm going A to B to C, the A is throws over the middle, controlling the middle of the field. So I got to go Dallas Goedert immediately. It's just I think it's too easy not to, especially with such a talented pass catcher that Dallas Goedert is. Like if we were talking about like Jared Cook or something as the tight end in this system, I think it would be completely different. But Dallas Goedert he's a receiver first.
He has the ceiling. He has the ceiling you need. Yes, like exactly. You guys know, I've been ever critical of Dallas Goedert on the show. I've said repeatedly that I think that he was lucky to have a guy like Zach Ertz next to him where he can be viewed as an elite tight end too. And I always said that I don't think that Dallas Goedert is a tight end one. After what I saw down the home stretch last year, I'm ready to disagree with myself. I'm ready to. He needs to show me that this year. If he, doing it against the Jets and the Giants who have quit on their coach is one thing. I need to see this throughout a consistent season. If he could, I'll say this: we gave Ertz all the time in the world he needed to. We let Ertz simmer behind Selleck for years. I don't see any reason that Goddard can't do the same thing once the reins haven't been given to him. But I think that I do think I will say this: I'll die on this hill forever. He's never going to be as good as Ertz was, and I understand part of that is he won't ever have the funnel that Wentz gave to Ertz. But I just think as a receiver, doesn't profile the same. With that said, he's certainly going to break more tackles than Ertz did.
There we go.
Certainly going to do that.
I think we'll know week one too.
I think we'll know early on. I'll say this. You guys can quote me on this now. Goddard is free from any criticism from me week one. I'm convinced week one is the AJ Brown show. I don't think the Lions. I don't think we'll be. The Lions really struggled against top end wide receivers last year, and I think Go ahead. What were you saying, Ben?
I don't think we'll be able to predict. I don't because Hurts isn't a passer that we can Hurts isn't a passer that we can key on
I don't think you'll be able to predict on a week to week thing, but
3 weeks. I'd say we give Goddard 3 weeks to really dive into him.
Yeah, if Goddard doesn't have a touchdown in the first 3 weeks, I'm teeing off on him. But week one, he's exempt from everything because I'm pretty positive that AJ Brown's the new guy in town. I think they're going to want to build the relationship.
You want to show off the new shiny toy.
Exactly. They want to show off the new Ferrari. And like I mentioned, like if you go back and look at the Lions last year, sure, their defense wasn't good by any means. They got torched by the better receiver you were against the Lions last year, the better you did. That's basically how it boiled down to. And I don't really think the Lions did anything to really change those issues. Like, yes, they got a lot better in terms of their front seven, but their secondary is still very shaky. And I certainly would not be surprised to see a nuclear game from AJ Brown week one.
"Quote unquote," Jeff Okudah is getting rave reviews in training camp. Have you guys watched Hard Knocks? The linebacker Rodrigo is getting a ton of love. The rookie linebacker Rodrigo is what they call him.
I watched like the highlight
linebacker and Jeff Okudah.
That makes sense.
All right,
a rookie linebacker and Jeff Okudah.
I watched episode 1 and loved it, but I've been more into the Manti Te'o doc and the boys.
Dude, let's simmer down on that because that was my tap out. We'll just little teaser. Crazy. Thanks, Josh.
All right, Eagles defensive player of the year, Josh.
Oh man, I mean, I'll pick off where Digits left off. If we're talking about the new signing, I'm just going right to Hassan Reddick, fellas. This D-line feels like recharged. Like I think that would be the best word I'd use to describe the D-line. And to me, Hassan Reddick's just the wild card of this D-line. You got a healthy BG. You got Jordan Davis, who every day I get more excited about him, especially next to Fletch and Hargrave. So who's going to be coming off that edge when everyone's jamming up the middle? It's going to be Hassan Reddick. And I'm never expecting him to get an interception. I'm never expecting him to drop in coverage. He may be listed as a linebacker. There is no secret. We know what he's doing, and I genuinely expect him to be leading this team in sacks by the end of this season. Hassan Reddick's got to be my D point, and I don't know. Like Hassan Reddick to me has like an outside chance of maybe being like team MVP. He was the first signing of this offseason, but so like I feel like the hype.
It was quick and easy. It was not a drawn out saga either.
Right. I mean, but I'm saying the hype has kind of like died a little bit. But when I'm doing like a little research today, and I'm looking at the roster, I'm like, man, Hassan Reddick I think is going to like what you said about AJ Brown, where the team will go where he goes. I think that like the sack numbers and the quarterback pressures are going to go where Hassan Reddick goes.
Max, defensive player of the year. Who do you think?
So Josh mentioned a really, really good keyword that I would like to steal. He used the word recharged when talking about the defensive line. And I totally agree that the defensive line looks recharged. And you know what recharges a team or a unit? Youth. Jordan Davis will win NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He is that good. He's that game-changing from day one. I'm ready to say this guy is going to make a splash this year. He's not going to have – he's a D-tackle. He's not going to have the sack numbers, but he's going to do things that really enable this defense. And I'm not going to lie, he already looks to me like he could do some really, really dirty and disruptive things to two members of an offensive line at once. I'm ready to say it, like dirty. It's hard for a hype train it's hard for there to be a hype train on a rookie defensive tackle, right? Like it's maybe the least sexy, and maybe after center and guard, D tackle is probably the least sexy position, outside of the nerd special teams guys. Jordan Davis is going to be a monster from day one. I don't see an other way around it. I really don't. He's quick. He's enormous. He's smart. He understands his role, and I don't think that he's going to be playing all the snaps week 1. By week 6, week 7, Javon Hargrave better be performing at an all-pro level if he thinks that Jordan Davis won't be getting the majority of snaps over him by then. I just don't. I don't see how the Eagles find a way to keep this guy off the field. He looks so disruptive, and I'm ready to go all in on Jordan Davis. I think he might be the best player in this draft, honestly. In the whole out of available to everyone in the NFL, I think he has the potential to have the best career out of anybody in that draft easily.
For the reason that you think so high of Jordan Davis, my defensive player of the year is going to be Milton Williams.
Wow, that is a great pull, Banner man.
Because I don't know how much slack Hargrave's going to get, and Milton showed a ton of flashes. And when he's getting, let's say the Eagles didn't add Jordan Davis, Milton would be like 3rd on the pecking chart, and there would be attention paid to him. Right now, Milton slips a little bit farther. I would agree with
you. He would probably be my pick for this category.
He slipped a little bit farther, and there's going to be a lot of people paying attention to Jordan Davis, who is going to take up 2 people at one time, and then Milton Williams.
What about the other defensive tackle?
We're getting there. We're already assuming that one of Fletch and Hargrave, whoever's on the field, they're also getting maybe even double covered as well. So Milton Williams is out here, a pass rush specialist from the defensive tackle position. I think he sneakily leads the team in sacks from the defensive tackle position. So I think he'll be 2nd on the Eagles in sacks behind Hassan Reddick. And I think people are going to really start looking at him like, okay, Hargrave is not needed here. The defensive line is in a very good spot with once Fletch is gone and Hargrave can be let go, but with the 2 of Davis and Williams leading the way for a while. So I think Milton's going to shock a ton of people. By the way, one of the sweetest people you will ever meet. Just a great person.
I've heard that too. I had a buddy living in the same apartment complex as him last year or something like that.
Just like the nicest person ever. So I think Milton's going to jump off the page here once, because you can't not pay attention to Jordan Davis. Like it's just he's so massive that you're gonna forget that Milton.
He's got it all, man. He really does.
In conclusion, also we can just say the interior defensive line is the MVP of this team. I feel like it wasn't talked about as much during the offseason, and now we're getting closer to the season, and it's oh man. And what about the fact I want to see how they rotate, right? If they're able to keep those guys fresh too, oh man, because
they're going to rotate so much.
Oh, they're going
to they're going to be constantly rotating.
Davis won't play obvious passing third downs, which is totally fine. That's not really where he should be in at. But that's what I mean.
At least the first half of the season,
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That's a big boy. It's okay getting him out of there on 3rd and 10s.
Yeah, but for pass rushing, a pass rush situation, he's clogging everything up in there.
Yeah. I'm just saying, obviously, that's where he will get his break. I guess I should say it's not that he's a liability against the pass. It's just that if you're going to take Jordan Davis off the field for rest or for rotation, it's going to be on obvious passing downs where you're maybe focused a little bit more on keeping the field covered as opposed to getting home.
It's funny though, because the NFL is kind of having this renaissance of like getting interior pressure from defensive tackles, and it kind of started a little bit before Aaron Donald, but like he was obviously the one that kicked it in the ass and started off. But like Simmons down in Tennessee, like that whole wave of just people from the inside eating each other up, and the Eagles went.
I feel like I'm not even gonna lie. I kind of feel like the Eagles started this renaissance with their Super Bowl run. I think people seeing us being able to generate. I don't know. We had dominant defensive tackle play, and we also were one of the first teams to start moving the defensive, like adding a defensive end for defensive tackle to like on obvious passing situations to kind of try and generate more interior rush. Obviously,
no, I guess the Giants did that under Parcells and Belichick. That was.
But I mean, like that was something that wasn't like it faded out. And I feel like the Eagles were one of the first teams to bring that back in. Like that was not always like, I know it's been done before, but it's not a consistent move where I think now 5 years removed from that, I think every single team has that package in their defense where I think it's fair to say that most teams did not for a while.
What I think the Eagles started was having rotational pieces on the offensive line to be able to keep that like deep. Which did not happen. Like if the season-ending injuries were season-ending for teams, because that 17 team was so deep on both sides. Like both lines were so deep, so deep. Next award that we're giving out: Rookie of the Year, Eagles Rookie of the Year. Josh, who you got?
It's Jordan Davis. Is that a clean sweep?
Yeah, I mean. I didn't even know we had this. I wouldn't have poured my heart out for Jordan Davis like that if I knew I'd to talk about him again 60 seconds later.
No, so. I mean, look, it's just a fact. Jordan Davis, clean sweep. So what happens when he's like that? No, never mind. Shut up. Next question.
What happens when Jacoby Dean's the one who makes the All-Pro team instead of him? Good problem to have. Josh.
What happens when Jordan Davis is like huffing and puffing in like the second quarter and they got to take him off the field? That's what I was gonna say.
That's what the oxygen masks are for.
No way, man.
This one is
in the SEC, man. Those are not. I mean, it's easier playing the winter down there, but you got college starts earlier than the NFL does. Georgia's playing home games in Georgia earlier in September than
as we speak.
Then the Eagles will play a home game in the NFL. So,
all right,
Josh, explain this next award for me. The Travis Fulgham Award winner.
Oh, yes. I mean, we did it last year. We had the 2 awards. I'll save the best for last. But the Travis Fulgham Award, he doesn't have to be as deep as Travis Fulgham. He was on the practice squad when the season started. Next thing you know, he's on your fantasy team and winning the Eagles some games. So somebody on this Eagles roster or on their practice squad that you really just think is going to pop and come out of nowhere. And I'll just start it off. I'm doubling down on who I picked last year. In fact, fellas, I remember who I picked last year.
I don't. Please enlighten me.
Tyree Jackson. Tyree Jackson last year, if you remember, was hurt, did not get an opportunity to play until the last game of the year, where I cashed on his plus 280 anytime touchdown score against the Dallas Cowboys.
Totally unbiased.
If we will remember, Tyree Jackson, unfortunately, tore his ACL in that game, and he will miss the first 4 games of this season. I'm looking at that tight end room, and after Dallas Goedert, I can't say I have too much belief in Calcaterra or Jack Stoll. They're fine little players, but Tyree Jackson, 6'7", he was beasting it out in training camp last season and got 1 game to prove his worth. Well, he got like 3, but whatever. He had 1 game where he got to really get playing time, and he scored a touchdown in it. I'm doubling down on Tyree Jackson this season. Week 9 Warrior, book it.
Max, your Travis Fulgham Award-winning breakout player on this Eagles roster.
Am I allowed to? I don't know. Like, this feels so easy because should I cop out? Am I copping out here, fellas, or am I digging deep for someone that like maybe
it's Travis Fulgham Award? You got to honor Travis Fulgham the best of your.
Got to dig deep, bro.
See, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think this person that I want to say would be in the.
Are you going to say Boston Scott?
No, I was going to say a certain center that has been really impressive in the preseason.
But
I don't think that counts.
Dig deep.
Okay. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with our boy, and I might get his last name mispronounced. Okay. I believe it's just Josh Jobe. Regular working man football name, has really, really made a name for himself in this training camp. I'll say this. If the three guys, if the three other corners ahead of you are James Bradbury, Darius Slay, and Avonte Maddox, teams are going to be looking at you. There's a pretty obvious answer to which one of these four cornerbacks should you probably target. So I think that he's going to have his name called, and he seems to have been the star of training camp, the guy that was like, he's the warm camp body, and he's the guy who played himself into a spot on the 53. And that seems to come out today before they, that was like one of the first bits of news that I saw. So I'm gonna go with Josh Jobe. Hopefully it's not Joe B or Joe Bay or any other way to pronounce Jobe. So let's go Josh Jobe. You got a good old fashioned football name.
I'm really glad you dug deep too, because like that I was thinking about him, because when I saw that like he's pretty much gonna make the roster, all I'm thinking about is that Cardinals game, was it last year or 2 years ago, where you get guys like Michael Jacquet inserted into games for 60 minutes.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And to me, like this is what like that's the bottom line. Jobe is going to get playing time this year. He's better than Jacquet. He's going to be a competent body, and he's going to do his job. That's what I'm taking from it.
I don't know how deep is like I want to say somebody who like has a chance to make like to see the field. So I think I'm going to go Jack Driscoll, because there's going to be an injury. There's going to be an injury, and it feels like Driscoll. There's always something positive being said about Jack Driscoll. I don't know what it is, but like it just like. Oh, he's ready. He's ready to go. It's Jack Driscoll's had a great, you know what I mean? Like, so there's always going to be an injury. Hopefully it's not too bad. But it seems for the past couple of seasons, there's been an injury along the interior of the offensive line. So I think Driscoll's going to come in and just prove that. I could have said Sayamalu here either. It just proves how deep this offensive line goes.
Sayamalu wouldn't have qualified, in my opinion.
That's fair. That's a fair point. But I think Driscoll proves that he... Could Driscoll earn himself a contract with another team? Who knows?
Absolutely. I think he's got one. Honestly, I think Driscoll has another contract with another team at this point, regardless. Whether or not that's, whether it's that's 3 years for 15 or, 2 years for 18 million or 3 years for 38 million, that's probably the difference this year could make.
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised what teams will pay for competent offensive line play, Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it with Big V, Halapoulivaati Bataille.
Yeah.
Big V.
And the last award here, Josh.
Our most
famous
award
this award that you have coined. This White Snake, this Nate Gary Memorial Award.
I mean, come on, fellas. Every single year there is one guy who gets trashed on Twitter unanimously. You hear more call-ins than to WIP about how much they hate this guy. And for me, in my lifetime, the most ever might be Nate Gary. I mean, that guy was the worst. Anytime something bad happens, it was like, what's Gary doing on this play? We're like in the stupid little white snake dance. So the White Snake Memorial Award winner this year. I kept receipts of my own from last year. I said Andre Dillard. I say I'm wrong about that. I was pleasantly surprised about Andre Dillard. This year, I'm going to keep it simple. It'll harken back to an earlier conversation we had this year. Anthony Harris is going to be my White Snake Nathan Geary Award.
So good.
Winner.
Damn.
It's just so obvious. Digits. I mean, it's the cliche you said about regular gas in the sports car. Like, that's what he is. You got this tricked out secondary, and just once like Maddox or Bradbury, they're going to get beat. You saw Slay get beat by Tyreek Hill, and Anthony Harris is going to be so flat-footed, and they're going to show the replay over and over of him just like falling down as Tyreek Hill or whoever scampers in the end zone.
Whoa.
We're going to hate Anthony Harris so much this season, and it's going to be hilarious.
Oh my God, Max, your Nathan Gary Memorial White Snake Award.
This guy got brought up in question earlier, but I think that sometimes being a third-round pick 2 years ago can't save you from that fate. Davion Taylor.
On the team.
That's tough.
I know, but I think that he's a prime candidate for this award, where it's like, hey, he plays again, and it's like, okay, there's no more there's no more skirting around it. Like this guy, he's done it. Like he's got to go after this year. And to me, I think he embodies the spirit of this award. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Nate Geary also a 3rd round pick?
I can't remember, man.
No? Okay.
I don't think so.
I'll double check that right now, but I feel like
double check.
I feel like Davion Taylor embodies the spirit of the White Snake better. Geary was a 5th rounder. I feel like Davion Taylor embodies the essence of the White Snake probably better than anybody on the Eagles roster right now.
I don't know if you guys are gonna like this. My Nate Geary Memorial White Snake Award winner is gonna be Jake Elliott.
Man.
No. Come on.
Wow. I don't think so. I think you could have made me buy into this last year, Banners, but I don't think so.
I was buying into last year, not at all.
Well, I think that's why I'm buying into it, because it felt to me like
really, really bad this year.
It felt like there was like 2 to 3 years there where everybody was like, we should probably think about moving on from Jake Elliott. And then he had a good year last year. Oh, man, that's like a death sign for golfers. And we all know kickers are golfers. So I don't know. I'm not a tarot card reader or anything. I'm not reading the tea leaves or anything, but well, I don't know, man. I get a bad feeling about
I'll say this. Jake Elliott, there's definitely in our imaginary Trust the Process live sports book that we talk about, there's definitely Jake Elliott's definitely on that list. He definitely has odds. Whether or not those odds are appealing enough for me to take, I don't know. But he definitely has odds, Banners. I will say that. He definitely has odds on the on the TTP Sportsbook.
Real like a side question here, while we're talking about rosters and all this stuff. Is Jake Elliott the only reason Aaron Sipos has a job? I mean, like Sipos holding clearly made a difference in some way or in one way or another.
I think that's a very fair point. Yeah, because I don't know, you hear a lot of people talk about the I forget who it was. Ryan Longwell, I think like a couple of years made like he had a really good interview about how important the kicker and like the whole unit of special teams, the long snapper and the holder are. So yeah, Josh, that might be a fair statement to make. I think it is.
I think we'll find out in the next couple of days too.
Sam
Kern got waived, and then the
guy on the Broncos. That's I was just going to mention him.
Yeah, 2 punters.
Not often we talk about punters. Yeah. Sam Kern was like, I think he was like top 5 in like average, like net yards per punt average last year or something. Like he was pretty solid. I mean, I guess plays in Denver. I guess those numbers are probably a little juiced. Like if you're an Alabama running back, but I don't know.
All right. So usually not usually at halftime, but during halftime during the NFL season, we do our favorite segment. And for those who have stuck around with us, winners and losers, we're not going to do it yet, but as soon as the season starts, we're going to tell you our winners for every week of the NFL season going through the playoffs, because that is it's so much fun. We're going to do rapid fire real quick. I keep it real rapid. Any comments other than it doesn't matter about that loss to the Dolphins, boys?
Dolphins are losers.
I like Mike McDaniels as a coach. He seems like a pretty chill guy, but this was a narc move by him, and I don't think he would like being called a narc.
You know what? Actually,
choose to say
one quick comment. What's up with those like practice squad guys, man? Like come on, like they were dead. They were so beaten down. I guess you know what? I just did a whole cycle. I was like, first of all, they were playing against Tyreek Hill. I guess if I was playing against Tyreek Hill, I'd kind of quit on myself too. So, never mind.
Yeah, that's not cool. It was not very chill what the Dolphins did. That's my final statement.
I don't know. I loved it. Kind of. I don't know why. I just really liked it. I think it was a killer move from Mike. I don't even know. I can't get a read on Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is like the definition of a wild card, and I love it.
Maybe that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here for it. Was I right about the Padres, boys? You can check tape. I called the Padres as the epic collapse of the MLB season. Was I right? Tell me about it, Max.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll answer your question with a question. Did you have insider info at that point in time? Because you were awfully confident.
I may or may not have.
You were awfully confident. It seems like you knew something that me and Josh did not.
Yeah.
And we thought they'd have 3 really good hitters in a row and not just 2 really good hitters in a row. So I would like that statement. I like my previous statements expunged under false pretenses.
Josh, was I right?
So you were right for this season. Because, like
You're giving them the battle, but not the war.
Right. If you get Juan Soto, hell no, you're not, right? But I mean, come on, like clearly it's a bunch of humans and they're not comfortable together and they're not looking good at all. So yeah,
this
you
tells
were
me
right.
Josh didn't check the tape because that was my exact take. This year they're boned. Long term?
No. I said in the next 5 years they're too big to fail. And you're like,
you did say that they were not getting a World Series in the next 5 years.
Well, I still stand by that. I didn't say they're going to be bad. The Yankees, how long has it been? Well, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to do that.
The Yankees are bad. That's
I was right. I was right.
The Yankees are like last year's Steelers, whereas like they're 30 games over 500, but nobody but their own team. You remember, like last year, the Steelers started 11-0, and nobody outside, every single person outside Pittsburgh was like, "I'm not worried about the Steelers at all. They're frauds." Hilarious. And the Yankees are 30 games over 500, and not a single person outside of New York thinks they're a threat to win the World Series.
Last rapid fire here, boys, just real quick. It looks like the NL playoff picture is coming into focus pretty clearly. The last thing that could really change is the NL East winner, but it kind of seems like even if that changes, the Phillies are kind of still locked into that side of the playoff bracket. So let me ask you, Max, would you take a bet at even odds that the NL playoff picture stays the same? If I give you even odds, are you putting money on that?
As in, who's in the third spot right now? The Cardinals
Padres.
or the Padres?
Padres. No.
Okay.
Yeah, Padres. Cardinals have their division.
So wait, really quick, can we run this? Can we run down the MLB?
I'm positive of it.
Did it change since yesterday?
Dodgers, Mets, Braves, Cardinals is the 3 division winners, right?
Yeah.
And the wild cards would be Mets, Braves, Phillies, Padres.
Yeah.
Okay, and can just for the dumb and uninitiated, who's chasing the Padres right now? Who's the closest?
The Brewers.
To the Padres?
Brew Crew.
I will take your even odds that the playoff bracket does not change because the Brewers have been ass since the All-Star break.
Dude, the Brewers have been maybe more losers than the Padres, and that's saying a lot. So I mean,
they've been just losing. The Padres have been losers. The Brewers have been losing.
I've been doing a thing where every night I'll watch the Phillies and then I'll watch whatever's left of the Brewers game, and they are finding Phillies ways to lose games. I'm talking getting 2 runners in scoring position, like to win the game,
0 outs,
win like 0 outs, and then still losing the game in extra innings. It's. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but it's painful
against a terrible NL Central too.
Against the Cubs, like it's all.
I'm gonna say it changes. Changes. I think the Braves jump up into that 2 spot, boys.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. I thought I was breaking it down as that. Yeah. In that case, are the Mets in first or in second right now?
Mets are in first by 3.
Okay, then yes, I would like to take the change because we all know what the Mets do in September.
I think it's changing. I think the Mets are falling back. I think they're the 4 seed. Because I think that collapse is going to be historically funny to watch.
Must end the season.
Every time I see a Mets jersey now, Banners, I think of that. You changed my name. You changed my life forever with that.
There was another
must end the season. I'm dead serious.
Must end the suffering.
No, it was something. I'm gonna when I remember it, I'm gonna send it to you guys. I'm gonna tell you on the next episode.
Maybe we'll even tweet it from at TTPL Philly on Twitter.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll even do that.
Last quick comment about the Mets there is I tip my cap to Buck Showalter. I just think they've had DeGrom and Scherzer kind of bubble wrap pretty well, and they won't collapse as bad. That was my last thing.
Do we think he stays healthy?
DeGrom?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if he pitches 4 innings every game like he does, yeah, he'll stay healthy.
I don't know, man. Sliders at 94. That's tough. All right, that's rapid fire. Tap outs. Max, I know you said you had a tap out, so before anybody takes it from you, tap us out.
I was just going to say, fellas, this past weekend, I sat down for the 2 full hours and watched the what is it called? Untold? That's the name of the series, the Untold episode about Manti Te'o. And wow, it was incredibly well done, start to finish. I feel really, really bad about how the world treated him because he was right. He was very correct when he said the internet then is a lot different than the internet now. And it is crazy. Like hearing all the details of that stuff and just hearing how he got catfish and how it all feels so elementary. And like, if that happened in 2022, that's getting shut down in like 2 days because most of it is just like such anti-catfish commonplace, procedure now, it feels like. So it was very, very crazy to go back in the time machine to that extent. But I'm very, very happy that, he says he's found peace. I don't know, personally, I don't know if you can ever really truly find peace from something like that. Like that, a little bit of that always stays with you and will always kind of, it's part of him. It's not his fault. He didn't do it on purpose, which is a whole different discussion, which we don't need to get into. But yeah, Renaya, or I forget the name that she eventually transitioned to, but I mean, talk about heartless. It was genuinely an incredible watch. And I think that even if you don't really remember, or even, were ever familiar with the Manti Te'o story to begin with, I think you could watch that and be instantly hooked within 10 minutes of the first episode, probably. Maybe a little longer. It started a little slow. That's it.
Josh, you got to tap out?
Yeah. Just a quick little silly one. First of all, Manti Te'o doc, it was great. And based on that doc alone, I want to take Notre Dame plus 17.5 this Saturday. That is not my tap out. Just a fun. I don't know.
You
anything.
Want another fun fact?
Yeah.
About that? At a press conference today, someone brought that up to Notre Dame's coach, and he said, "How many points was that again? 17.5. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to let all the guys know that we're 17.5-point underdogs." That usually plays pretty well. That's all I'm going to say.
CJ Stroud, I'm not a fan. Do not want him to be the Eagles quarterback next year. It's a whole different topic.
Oh, plenty months before we're there.
My quick tap out is just about parking. Parking in the city just sucks so much. I was I have a little job at Shibe Sports in the city, and I'll just take a shift every now and then. Like if I'm not doing anything, I'll drive to the Temple area, and then I'll just SEPTA in and work there for 8 or 9 hours during the day. The Temple students are back on campus, fellas, and it was just awful trying to park the other day and make it to work on time. I was in a bind, and I was like, you know what, man? Throw in my car in Fresh Grocer. See what happens. I'm walking out of Fresh Grocer. I've never seen the signs before. I've been to Fresh Grocer over there many times. All of a sudden I'm looking around. It's your car will be towed if you leave it here all day, everywhere. I moved my car. It was all fine, but God, parking just sucks, man. That's it. Sucks. I got nothing else to say. Parking sucks.
I can't find this Mets joke, and I'm really upset about it.
You were struggling.
I'm going to find it because it's really funny. But hey, F1's back from summer break. Everybody out there who enjoys motorsport. Cool.
I saw, what's his name? Daniel something isn't resigning with
McLaren?
Whatever his car company. Yeah. He's not resigning with McLaren. Yeah. Huge news, right? That's huge news.
Forcing him out. And Ferrari just continues to be an absolute joke of an F1 team. So everybody who follows motorsport, it's good to be back from summer break, and let's continue to watch the just hilariousness that is Ferrari. So until then,
and that was talking F1.
Yeah, you can catch us. You know what? It might be fake and manufactured and everything, but Drive to Survive, if you're bored, it's very entertaining.
It is pretty awesome. I watched the first episode a while ago.
It's a good time.
I'm anti-F1. It's a boring sport.
What do you get from it? What kind of enjoyment do you get from saying that?
It's literally boring.
Kind of sicko.
It's literally boring. I don't get it.
It's definitely better to watch than NASCAR. I'll say that.
I disagree. In NASCAR, there's crash.
Oh,
and I don't watch NASCAR. But guys pass each other. In F1, you watch the first lap and you know who won the race pretty much. Maybe someone messes up the pit and it's oh no. It's ridiculous. It's so boring.
I'm not going to claim to know anymore. Get you roasted by millions of fans.
Those people do not fuck around, Josh.
Millions of
try banners.
It makes baseball invigorating. I'll say that much. There's no home runs in
You're
F1.
On one right now, dude.
I had a buddy who's liked F1 since 8th grade and tried to get me into it, and it's so boring. It's the worst.
Incredible. All right. If you didn't catch us live,
all right.
If you didn't catch us live, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Phillies are back on the West Coast for the last West Coast trip of the year. 9:40 start time against the D-backs. Hopefully they do better than last year. So until then, we'll catch you next time. And hopefully we'll be talking about the Phillies on a nice little winning streak returning home. We'll catch you next week, Philadelphia. We are Trust the Process Live. As always, we're brought to you by Mighty Philly, where something's always new. And everything's always Philly. Keep it easy. Stay easy. Have a good week, Philly.
Bunch of sighs.
Peace.